So, what do you guys want to talk about? Oh, poor Cody. We just started off and looking like it's not going to be a good year for him. I mean, like, if I was not listening to the facts. But, enough about that. The Rock has returned for the F-Team time since October. Yeah. So, The Rock's back. Raw. And he interfered in the middle of the modern day Maharaja's grand return. I'm like, no one really cared, but like, save for like a couple people. The Rock was back, interrupting the modern day Maharaja. After he was going on and on about mocking America and America sucks and all that, and about how America's been turned into nowadays. And I'm definitely not going to comment about that because, let's be real, that's a sensitive subject even if people say it's facts. Considering the state of things, oh God. I don't need to be reminded that the world sucks. So, The Rock came out, tore down Jinder Mahal, and Jinder Mahal got some punches in on The Rock until The Rock rebounded and kicked Jinder Mahal's ass. And sure enough, as we all know, The Rock did his signature stuff and then cut a promo afterwards. Oh, and he got the crowd rolling, so the only thing I'm missing now is The Rock interacting with LA Knight and endorsing him. And The Rock talks about how he is going to go eat and get a drink, asking people where he should sit, and he ends it on, should he sit at the head of the table? And sure enough, commentary points out the obvious, and simply says, Paul Heyman, call Roman. Yep. After God knows how many years, after God knows how many attempts, after God knows how many calls to make, after God knows how many times Hollywood had to block it, The Rock is finally going to challenge Roman Reigns for, no doubt, the Universal Undisputed Championship. Cody is probably not going to finish that story, is he? Okay. Let me be clear when I say this. This is the last match they could ever have for a mainstream superstar versus another mainstream superstar for a long while, even with Vince gone. Kevin Dunn's gone too. Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. The Rock is back. He has, and we don't have to deal with Kevin Dunn and his 1,000,001 jump cuts. And this is also the anniversary of AEW's 5th year in existence, so still standing after, what, how many times did they say they were supposed to die? Like 50 times already? But, yeah. The Rock has challenged Roman Reigns, and there is currently speculation from both fans and journalists going ahead and saying, well, where should Roman and Rock fight? The obvious answer is the main event of WrestleMania. There are other people contending that they should have it happen at Elimination Chamber, especially since that's also in a bigger stadium, and that would just get as much traction. Though, at the same time, people still will say, oh, well, it should be the Mania moment. That's the thing we've been building to. Sort of. And then you remember, oh god, Vince is not going to get any credit out of this, is he? Oh, everything goes to Triple H, and Vince sits in his $1 billion mansion and stews over the fact he can't play God. Mostly. So, I had these conversations on Twitter, still calling it that, and I first joked saying, Tony Khan, after hearing WWE has The Rock and Roman finally going at it this year, TK says, bring in the Monet. because there are word going around that Sasha, formerly known as Sasha Banks Mercedes Moné, is set to join AEW, or is at the very least in high-level talks. After the WWE ones broke down because she demanded more money than Charlotte Flair, and WWE said, "Are you kidding me? What kind of people do we think we are? Rich, glorified people who have nothing better to do in our lives?" I like we are, but we're not doing it. And yeah, here's the thing. I've had multiple topics about this subject, about Roman and Cody, Roman versus Rock, and I just said, okay, they can do both. Like, I don't know why this just keeps going through some people's heads in one ear and out the other. They say, well, Roman wouldn't work 2 nights. Okay, how do you know? Because he's a part-timer now? Like, if he does not want to work 2 nights, then why does he have the title where he's supposed to represent? And if WWE gave him that kind of power, then that's a whole different can of worms. So I said, have Roman work both nights, have Cody work both nights, and we have a fair gameplay. Night 1, Roman versus Rock is the main event. Cody takes on Solo Sikoa, except Cody loses that match. Then we can do the Bret Hart moment where he loses the match and then wins the main event. On night 2, but whereas Bret Hart did it all in 1 night, this all happened in 2 nights. So, yeah. So, and plus I would set the stage for a Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes feud, so you have a foundation right there to work with. But it has been a constant talk I've had since Rock's return on SmackDown, where they just kept going on about how Roman doesn't want to work 2 nights. I'm just saying, how do you know that? 2, why should Roman work not both nights? And I'm like, I also suggested Cody work both nights to make it fair. Like, is there a problem here? Like, we're at this situation whereas prior everyone was saying Roman can fight both Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania and gave clear, obvious solutions that weren't really head scratchers. It was pretty simple, barely an inconvenience. But you also had people didn't like. WWE was like in this stumbled state where they didn't know, okay, do we do Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes versus Roman, or yada 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 for night 2 or night 1, or you could just do a triple threat match like you did back at WrestleMania 2000, but for the richest prize in the industry. But you know, we're not going to have that conversation anymore, are we? Because it involves a certain wrestler who we do not talk about. So any attempts to reference in some way that gives clairvoyance on that is illegal. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reason why they didn't even go with the obvious answer right there. But having Roman work both nights and having Cody work both nights would be the most easiest solution to do with this match. As much as we could argue that Rock could or could not do Elimination Chamber, I think it depends on his schedule and depends on really if the government of Australia is going to give more money to WWE just to have The Rock there, because reportedly WWE doesn't go to these foreign shows unless they're giving a huge substantial money from the government or a tourism attraction board. That's one of the reasons why we still haven't had a WrestleMania in the UK yet. Yeah. So yeah, Rock and Roman is now clearly the destination, the end game right now. I'm worried about Cody and how he's going to handle things in terms of the storyline. I think he doesn't have real beef with The Rock. If he did, then we have a whole different can of worms waiting to happen. I'm curious to know, I heard CM Punk wasn't on the show tonight. I didn't watch the whole show. I don't watch the 3-hour Raws. I just watch the segments, and WWE upload the entire Jinder Mahal Rock segment on YouTube. So I just watched that. I'll probably watch the Drew McIntyre Seth Rollins match, but yeah, I'm kind of content not watching a 3-hour Raw. It's just too tiresome to deal with. But yeah, The Rock is back, and I've had. There was another conversation I had. I won't mention his name just to be safe, but he was really not for The Rock coming back, and we had this lengthy talk about veterans and the nostalgia factor that he uses, and how, you know, almost all the veterans who do want to give back are not in WWE anymore. Most of them have either retired, gone elsewhere, or have passed away tragically. And yeah, and I just said nostalgic is delicate but potent. And yeah. And I also said, watch, Rock is going to make more appearances building this match than Roman, which will be a surprise for everybody. Like, even before Vince lost the creative books, this was always the match they wanted to do. I would have been surprised if part of the reason they kept having Roman be so dominant and then keep the part-time and give him the part-time status is because they were getting more and more certain they could get Rock and ready, and therefore because Roman would work more dates, that means there was a higher chance of injury. So they decided, okay, let's lower his dates, give him more money, don't care what the repercussions are. I know we'd be losing our world champion and premier athlete, but we need to get The Rock and Roman to go at it, then we can just move on with our lives. And with this huge now big wrench in what should be the endgame year for Roman's reign, there have been constant talks, not just in WWE, it's been on again, off again on that, but from fans, every time when Roman comes back and wins his match, they start saying, hey, maybe Roman's gonna break Hulk Hogan's record. He should totally break Hulk Hogan's record. And they'd be in second place with Bruno Sammartino, and I'm just like, oh, for f***ing sakes. Do we... like, do we really want him to be that champion for that long? He is set to break the record this year if he sticks around after WrestleMania and if he retains both nights, if they do that scenario. But, like, it would just infuriate everybody to have him continue walking around with the belt, not really doing much, not even doing Hollywood appearances. Like, at least here's the thing, at least there would be a reason for Roman to be part-timing in it. Whereas Rock has a reason. This, like, the nature of part-timing is always such a strong subject in wrestling, especially when Lesnar was holding the title and not producing as many moments as he should have been, and mostly Paul Heyman did most of the work, and the thing Brock Lesnar did was just wrestle, but sometimes it wouldn't be him doing it for long, and other times he would do it and then he just would be out of the match for half of it and then come back and finish it, which was an annoying thing I had to deal with at the time. One of the reasons why I don't herald Seth Rollins, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar's match at the Rumble as some masterpiece, because it was mainly consisting of Brock Lesnar is out for God knows how long. Seth Rollins, John Cena, you do all the work, and then Brock Lesnar come in and use your superpowers. It just bugged me to no end. And there is another concern: The Rock's physical conditioning. Some people believe he's going to get hurt real quickly, and that's a strong possibility, especially since Hollywood's going to try and do whatever they can to make sure either The Rock doesn't go to WrestleMania or wrestles at all, or try to see if they can find a way to make sure he doesn't get hurt in the process. Because this is a thing, and he was supposed to wrestle at Extreme Rules, and then he got hurt at WrestleMania 29, which I was unfortunately at. The only thing I liked about that show was The Undertaker and CM Punk. And now we get this. And The Rock's body build is something that disturbs people in some ways, mostly because he's a giant. Like, it was said a few years back, he was doing a movie, I think WWE promoted it. He was so muscular and bulked up that he couldn't fit in the car. And I'm curious as to know what the hell this guy has taken. to be that massive. Growth hormones? The other stuff we don't want to mention? I don't know. I'm not wanting to find out. Though I am curious as to know that now with The Rock now factored into everything, what does this do for Cody, for the Bloodline, for Jimmy and Jey Uso's feud, and if The Rock's daughter, who is in NXT, well, what will she factor into this? Because Paul Heyman did interact with her backstage once upon a time during the Tuesday Night Battles, the most depressing day in wrestling because everything was going crazy that day. Like Shawn and Tony Khan were escalating the fight, and I'm just like, it's just one freaking night. It was just one night, man. You both lost your minds. And you brought 30-minute commercial freeze, a 0-hour Jay Cargill. You brought The Undertaker, John Cena, Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, LA Knight. You brought the whole shebang. Adam Copeland's first match in AEW. That was a night. And a very toxic one for the community. We'll see, but I'm curious as to know. Do you guys think The Rock's involvement is going to throw a wrench in plans? There are sayings that this is not that Rock versus Roman is not the end game, that Cody and Roman is still the end game. We'll see. Depends on what The Rock will do for business. And I'm hoping things work out, honestly. I'm hoping Rock doesn't get hurt. I'm hoping he can just get a okay match with Roman at his age and his physique and the lack of cardiovascular endurance, depending on how his health is. Yeah. The road to WrestleMania has begun, people. And by God, it's going to be a doozy. We'll see heading into the Rumble. Then we'll see what happens at the Chamber. But be forewarned, I will hopefully cover this match. Either if it's going to be a good match, a bad match, or an epic disaster waiting to happen for various reasons. But we'll see. And that's the bottom line. Because Eric Brown of NRE said so. Take care.